If you've got nice modern hardware and you've got your shiny copy of Windows 10, you're probably wondering, my goodness, how in the world does it boot so fast? Seriously, how did they do it? In this nugget, we'll discuss that and we'll make sure we keep Windows 10 booting quickly. Now, this is a hands-on lab nugget, but before we jump into that lab, let me just walk you through a setting that isn't available in the lab regarding the fast startup feature. So here we are in Control Panel, and we're going to go to Power Options. And under Power Options, if you choose, for example, choose what the power button does, notice on this machine, turn on fast startup, which is a recommended setting, is enabled. Notice these are grayed out. To have access to them, just click here, change settings that are currently unavailable, and you could manipulate these settings. Fast startup, look at that. It is enabled by default, and you're going to find that is the case on machines that support this feature. How does this fast startup really work? Well, I'll tell you how it works. It's a function of Hibernate. If you go to your root of your C drive, you'll see there's this hiberfile.sys. And this hiberfile.sys file is going to store certain settings when you shut down your machine so that when you start up the machine, those settings are pulled from here and the boot is measurably faster. This is pretty cool. It's often referred to in the Microsoft documentation as a hybrid startup mode because it is relying a little bit on the hibernation feature of Windows 10. Now, there are some rare cases where you know your hardware would support this, but it's not enabled on your Windows 10 machine. Let's jump into our hands-on lab so I can show you how to troubleshoot that. So we'll select our hands-on lab link on the main course page over on the right. We'll choose Control-Alt-Delete. We'll put in the password and we'll log in to our hands-on lab system. Once we get into the system, what we want to do is we want to access the UEFI settings because the fast boot behavior might be disabled under UEFI. Remember now, the UEFI is our new and improved BIOS that we have on systems today. In order to access that, the easiest way is to go down to your Action Center and choose All Settings. In the All Settings area, go to Update and Security, and then choose Recovery. What you're going to do is you're going to restart with Advanced Setup. So we are literally restarting our system right now, and you'll get this nice screen to choose an option, and you would go to Troubleshoot, and then Advanced Options. In here, and we don't have it in our lab environment, but trust me, in here on your system will be the ability to manipulate the UEFI settings, and you want to go in there and ensure that Fast Boot is enabled. For right now, we'll just go ahead and go back, and we'll go back again, and we'll say, look, let's just continue to Windows 10 without taking advantage of any of these advanced boot options right now. So you may want to pause right here as you log back into your hands-on lab environment. Now, did you notice when we were looking at the fast startup setting inside the power options, it said doesn't affect restart? You see, what can happen with the shutdown and then startup behavior with fast startup is sometimes group policy settings might not get refreshed that have been pushed out to systems. A great way around that is to have your user restart instead of do the shutdown and then the startup. Also, of course, we could force groups policy setting updates on user systems as well. All right, well, what about enforcing the fast startup behavior through group policy? Well, you can enforce it through group policy, but one thing that comes up that's interesting is, what if you needed to disable this behavior? There's no option in group policy to disable fast startup. We'd have to do that through a registry hack and then push out that registry hack through group policy. So let's go down to our Cortana area and let's run regedit. Inside regedit, what we're going to do is we're going to go to HKey local machine, and then we're going to go to software. We're going to go to system, and then we're going to go to current control set. We're going to go to control. Under control, we're going to go to power. And inside of power, you'll see a HyberBoot enabled option. Now, we don't see it here in our lab system because the HyberBoot functionality is not possible. But on a system where the fast startup is possible, you would see the HyberBoot enabled key. The 0 setting would turn it off, and the 1 setting would enable it. So you could set it to the 0 setting and then push this through group policy in order to turn it off. A bit of a workaround required in this case. And by the way, how would you know, other than looking here, if your system totally doesn't support this cool feature? Well, certainly you could go into Control Panel and go into the power options that we started this nugget with, or an even quicker way would be to jump out to the command prompt, and in the command prompt type power CFG and then /A. And it will tell you, look, hibernate, the system firmware doesn't support it. And if you look down below, fast startup, no thank you, because hibernation's not available. I mean, we would love to be able to do this, but without the hibernation feature, we cannot take advantage of the hybrid boot mechanism for gaining speed. Now, certainly fast startup's going to influence how quickly we're in our machine and getting productive work done, or for that matter, just playing a fun game. But what about other things that would impact the raw startup speed of our system? Well, we know one of those things would be the startup apps. And notice the taskbar settings here. I don't like this at all. I go into the settings for the taskbar right away. And you know what I love to do? I come in here and I say, look, let me select which icons appear on the taskbar. And I always want to see all of the icons. And I can see that Windows Defender is starting automatically here. I can see that OneDrive is starting automatically here. And you'll see someone's system that'll have this whole taskbar filled with all of this stuff that is launching at startup. Applications love to have stuff there like to notify you of things, to check for updates, to install printer drivers and keep them resident in memory. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could be starting up, and this could really be impacting the performance of the machine. You probably already know one way in which to control these things, and that's to right-click the taskbar and choose Task Manager, one of the many ways to bring it up. Then go into your More Details view, and inside of Task Manager on the Startup tab, you can see the two apps that we know now are launching automatically. And notice their startup impact is given. So OneDrive, for instance, is really going to impact a delayed start of this system. Windows Defender would have a low impact. So you could come in here and you could disable those features that are going to have a high impact. Just beware that you may have to go through some extra work now in order to get something done. For instance, with OneDrive, if you disable this at startup and you want to sync files, you would have to go in and manually sync files potentially. So just be aware of the impact of disabling these key applications at startup. Now, sometimes with viruses, they will be starting up, or malware, and they won't show up here. They're smart enough to hide it from this location. So let's jump back to our registry editor so we can make sure we know right where this is controlled in the registry. So we'll launch regedit again. Yours may still be open, that's fine. And we're going to go in to regedit, and first we'll see these settings for the currently logged in user. So that would be HKey current user, and we'd go to software, we'd go to Microsoft, and under here we would go to Windows. Under Windows, we would choose current version, and then under this long list, we would go to run. I'm doing this literally from memory, so sorry for the pause there. And look at this. There's the OneDrive setting that we would expect to see for startup. So we could delete this information from here, and that would kill OneDrive's ability to launch at startup. Now, what about that software that's set to start up for everyone that uses this PC? In our case, that would be the Windows Defender. Well, this can be found by going to HKey local machine. We'll go to software. We'll go to Microsoft. We'll go to Windows once again. Where are you, Windows? There you are. Under here, we'll go to current version. And sure enough, there'll be that run value. Where is it? RS, yes. So many values in here. There it is. And there's Windows Defender, for example, set for all the users of this PC to launch at startup. Again, we can access these settings, and the smart way and safe way to do it is from the Startup tab of Task Manager, but I'm showing you these registry keys because this is a lovely place for malware to hang out. Now, when you own all of the Windows 10 systems and you're responsible for them from birth in your enterprise, it's really easy to keep a nice trim startup automatically setting for all your devices. In other words, you know exactly what apps need to start automatically for your users, and you maintain those in the startup list. When you inherit a system, though, when you are troubleshooting with a user that's having problems and you look and there's 50 different things that are starting at startup, the process that you usually go through there is to kill everything and then have them use their system for a week and then tell you what issues they're now having. And then you can slowly add back the features that they truly need. I hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.